We left off talking about arguably one of the best episodes in the entire series, camping, and the emotional weight behind its scenes. It radiates feelings of happiness and somber sadness.
Au revoir, Bluey.
Which is a perfect example of how some scenes can be considered emotional through a multitude of different feelings. Because of this, please consider that the rankings of certain episodes are not only due to its ability to make someone feel sad, but instead it's all about resonating and capturing the real life situations we find ourselves in that make these episodes so impactful.
Are you okay, Dad?
Yeah, mate.
I started making these videos due to my history of working with kids in a therapeutic setting, which has inspired me to start this series. I highly recommend anyone who is watching to get caught up with the first part by clicking on the top right. And before we get into the rations and condensed milk of the video,
I love condensed milk.
don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You have no idea how much helps me out to get these videos out to more fans like you. And let's get into the best of the best for emotional episodes of Bluey.
You look just like you. There's something Auntie Brandy wants more than anything as well.
Mackenzie, you know what's here now. You don't need to keep coming back to this place.
Was there something wrong with your old school? No, there's something going on with me.
I'm his daughter. He should take care of himself for me because I still need him.
I'm a big girl now. I have to go.
Remember, I'll always be here for you, even if you can't see me, because I love you.
In Season 3, there's an episode by the name of Space. Right off the bat, the episode Space has a deeper meaning in the form of a double entendre from the name alone. Not only are the gang exploring make-believe space, Mackenzie himself is trying multiple times to be alone, despite having fun with his friends, attempting to effectively get space away from everyone. Early on, we can see Mackenzie's interest in black holes after Jack briefly mentions how no one knows where they lead to.
What happens if you go in it? No one knows.
Showing Mackenzie's deeper underlying feelings of needing an escape from it all. We can see him deliberately get hit by a meteor,
It's actually called an asteroid.
as well as removing his tether and his connection to the gang, and placing himself behind a tree out of view of everyone to allow himself some breathing room and alone time, since there is something that is reminding him of his past during this episode. Even when he reconnects with his friends from behind the tree, we can see him with a sad face the entire time. Even after they're done fixing the ship and there's nothing to excuse himself from the gang, he up and leaves without anyone noticing and without saying a word.
We've lost Mackenzie.
When directly before this scene, he tried to make an excuse at least.
Why didn't Dudatron see that asteroid? Maybe Dudatron is damaged too?
His need for his own personal space is growing stronger and stronger. When the gang confronts him on this, Mackenzie blames and questions Rusty and Jack. Why did you leave me behind?
You did! You left me behind on purpose.
He even goes as far as directly asking the group to pretend they leave him behind.
I want to pretend that you leave me behind, and I'm all alone. Why? I don't know.
It's hard seeing Mackenzie like this, but once we come to understand more about this, we can see the reason why he behaves the way he does in previous episodes. For example, in Shops, when everything doesn't work out for him, he chooses to disconnect himself from everyone and sit alone in the woods, making my personal appreciation of that episode grow a lot, as well as many other episodes featuring Mackenzie. Also, allow me to add, the music and strings in this particular episode fits the deeper underlying meaning of the episode extremely well, so I have to give Joff, the musical composer of Bluey, props for this composition. Mackenzie's desire comes to an all-time high as we see him choose to go off course
I want to change course.
while everyone else is in hypersleep, sending the space into a black hole.
What is the new destination? The black hole.
Even as the gang are directly in front of the black hole, Mackenzie requests everyone to go to Mars without him,
You go to Mars without me. Are you sure?
as he chooses to adventure in the black hole alone, where we get to see an extremely touching scene tying everything together.
Mom?
We can see Mackenzie's separation anxiety / parental abandonment issues on full display, showing the audience why his desire to be alone is so strong in a half dream sequence / half deep childhood memory embodying his condition, where we can also see Calypso,
Are you okay?
being the amazing teacher she is, explaining that he no longer needs to linger on the bad parts of his past.
Mackenzie, you know what's here now. You don't need to keep coming back to this place.
and that he now has an amazing support system to help him move on from his tragic part of his life with his friends and family. And as the music swells for the final time, we see Mackenzie looking at the black hole once again, now filled with light, being a complete contrast to its previous black form, symbolizing his new outlook on things, and after a brief pause, finally choosing to regroup with his friends. I'd love to further analyze this particular episode in the future, considering there's a lot more to say about Mackenzie's deeper feelings, but for now, everything that is placed in this episode easily earns this episode's placement on number 5 on my list. My placement for number 4 can seem a little bit of an odd choice considering everything that has built up to this point, but hopefully by the end of my explanation, you buddies can understand why I'm placing Army here, and no, it's not only because of the ending scene, it's much more complex. The episode starts off by introducing an entirely new family, the Russells, which are Jack Russell Terriers.
I'm a Jack Russell!
And the main star of the episode, Jack, a new kid age 6 going to his first day of school at Calypso's. At the very beginning, we see the key main difference between him and almost every other kid character in the show, by him being the first to be openly self-aware of his problems.
Well, we drove there in the car, and I couldn't sit still, as usual.
And we get to see this and many more problems on full display in just the first 20 seconds of the episode. Because of these symptoms on display, most people like to categorize Jack as being the first character in the show to display a neurodevelopmental condition of either autism or ADHD. I have something planned in the future to fully analyze and discuss this particular topic, but for now allow me to summarize that the symptoms shown from Jack are common within people with both conditions, so it's impossible for him to be categorized under a specific one, but the writers purposely wrote Jack to be a catalyst to resonate with a crowd of people experiencing or those who have someone in their life with these conditions, which can make the entire episode extremely emotional as we watch further. In the car ride to his first day of his new school, we can see him display poor memory.
Did you remember your hat?
I forgot it.
As well as his problems with executing tasks that are told to him, and his little sister Lulu has to play the bad guy in this episode and ask the question,
Why can't you do with your toes?
and we can see Jack get visibly upset as the music transitions to soft chords and simply says,
I don't know.
This moment can be a really hard scene to look at because those who experience neurodevelopmental conditions are sometimes unable to perform in ways that is often seen as standard, so when Jack says I don't know, he literally has no clue on why he acts in this behavior, and sometimes this alone can make certain people feel automatically isolated from their peers, which can eat away at someone's own self-image, which can actually be seen subtly later on. Jack introduces himself to his new teacher Calypso, and once again, Lulu reminds the audience and Jack's new teacher of his problem.
Jack can't sit still or remember anything.
Calypso, however, simply ignores this and suggests Jack to immediately head on over to play with Rusty, where we can see him playing Army, and Jack asks if he can join.
Can I be in the army?
Rusty asks if Jack can do what he's told, where Jack immediately looks defeated, and we can see Jack's low self-esteem on display. However, we can see Rusty spring right into action as a sergeant and see Jack demonstrate quite the opposite of what he expects of himself, which is important to note later on. This first interaction is an excellent confidence booster for Jack, as well as we can see the special bond of the two starting to form, accompanying with Jack's continuous tail wagging. We even get to see Rusty offer a replacement hat for Jack, since Jack forgot his due to his memory, as well as a special little moment where after saluting, Jack knocks off his new hat, and the two begins to laugh at the clumsy act. It might be a small little scene, but we can already see Jack feeling comfortable around Rusty by laughing over his mistake instead of feeling negative about it, since even the smallest of mistakes can be detrimental to someone of Jack's conditions, which is even shown subtly via body language earlier on in the episode. As we go further, we can see Jack learning more and more about the army, and even perfectly recall the hand signals as well as each of their meanings, showing another contrast to what we expect of him due to his poor memory. In fact, we even see him excel in just about everything Rusty has him do.
Good push-ups, Recruit Russell!
Time and time again, the show uses Jack explaining just about every task's meaning as well as their purpose, which gives us a bit of insight into Jack's ability to retain information.
You need to know these things if we call for a dust-off. A dust-off is when you call in a helicopter to come and rescue you.
as well as Jack being able to sit perfectly still and attentive during sentry duty.
I loved it. All the other soldiers are counting on you.
All of these contrasts are an excellent way that the studio uses to teach the audience a little bit of how people with Jack's conditions' minds work. To put it simply, Jack is able to overcome every single one of his problems and excel in these activities because it was fun and interesting for him. Once you learn all this and choose to rewatch the episode, every single subtle detail the Bluey team includes elevates the episode into a perfect looking glass into neurodevelopmental conditions, and is frankly the best positive representation of it in recent media. Because of this, whenever I watch the episode, it's an emotional roller coaster jam-packed with many heartwarming scenes. If that wasn't enough, we also get to see another way the studio resonates with a different crowd of people through Rusty, via people with family members in the service.
My dad's in the army.
And the long distance relationship that develops due to this, causing long periods of time where you don't see said family member, which we can see Rusty's somber feelings towards this with just a single line.
Is he on patrol like us? Yeah.
I can really talk about this episode for hours, so maybe in the future I can go even more in depth on everything. So let's move it along and head on over to one of the last scenes where the pair climbs into the treehouse. As the music swells, with an excellent drumline addition, Rusty asks why Jack came to their school.
Why did you come to this school? Was there something wrong with your old school?
And we get to learn a tiny bit about Jack's past.
No, there's something going on with me. I'm not good at doing what I'm told. I can't sit still, and I can't remember anything.
This gives us a bit of insight that Jack transfers schools due to his conditions, and he feels really bad about this by choosing to blame himself for it all.
There's something going on with me.
With the music on full force still, the pair looks into the distance, and Rusty, being the incredible friend that he is, cheers Jack up by telling him how good he's been all day.
Oh, you're really good at playing army.
As a nice finale, Rusty promotes Jack to Private,
Congratulations, Recruit Russell. You're now Private Russell.
solidifying his position in their army,
I was in the army.
moving the scene along over to pickup time, where Jack's mom congratulates him on remembering every detail,
That was a lot of detail.
Yeah.
as well as
boy,
Jack
Jack.
asking his mom permission to have his condensed milk, transitioning to the last kicker of the episode.
Rusty gave it to me. See you, Jack.
Hey, Rusty!
His dad brought it back from patrol.
Next, we move on to a very sensitive topic with the Season 2 episode Granddad, where the main subject is Chili and Granddad's father and daughter relationship, where Chili is concerned about Granddad being in the winter of his life.
He has to accept that he's getting older and needs to look after himself.
At the very beginning, Chili expresses the core underlying meaning of the episode, explaining the importance of taking care of your body to Bluey.
I want you to grow up big and strong.
And we hear a very important line that we'll hear very often in the episode.
Shouldn't it be up to me?
It's explained early on that Granddad is recovering from heartworms and won't be able to play with the kids like he normally does. However, as we are introduced to Chili's dad, we see him partaking in heavy physical labor by uprooting a stump instead of Rusty.
Doing?
Being the fun granddad that he is, he encourages the kids to run away with him, turning the episode into an elaborate chase, where Chili is the chaser. For Granddad and the kids, it's all for fun, but for Chili, being concerned about her dad's health, it's a lot more serious.
You're not meant to be running around!
The gang decides to hide, and Granddad tells us that this is Chili's old home, so she'll have the home field advantage.
Oh, that's true. This is where she grew up.
And you can even see Chili's name etched into the trees in the area. As a nice little reference to Granddad's past, he utilizes old techniques he obtained from being in the army to assist with their antics.
I'll show you a trick I learned in the jungle. She can't find what she can't see.
And we get to see Chili's surprising skills of tracking that she more than likely learned from Granddad, as well as subtly demonstrating the close bond the two have. Despite their fun, we actually see Granddad's health decline on display as he is quickly winded, as well as his struggle with opening a bag of food.
Is that why Mum wants you to rest?
With Bluey and Bingo being concerned, they ask if he should be resting, and we get to hear this line again.
Probably.
Then why don't you?
Well, it should be up to me.
With Bluey coyly agreeing,
Yes, it should.
Granddad brings up a bag of pumpkin seeds to help Bluey become big and strong. However, Bluey declines.
That's what Mum says.
Well, your mum's right.
But shouldn't it be up to me?
And we can see the realization of Granddad's errors in his way start to form. With nowhere else to turn, they decide to head over to Maynard's shack, a friend of Granddad and Chili, and plead to hide inside, where we can see the chase come close to its end. And we get to see this tearjerker.
He has to accept that he's getting older and needs to look after himself.
Well, if he was here, he'd just say, shouldn't it be up to me?
No, it shouldn't. I'm his daughter. He should take care of himself for me because I still need him.
Having overheard what Chili said, we can see Granddad feeling solemn over his daughter's concerns. However, to keep it fun for the kids, he decides to have one last chase, leading them to a spot Chili and Granddad would visit often during her childhood.
Will Mum find us here?
Yeah, she'll be here soon, I reckon. This was her favourite place when she was young.
I have to mention the musical contrast demonstrated in this episode from a fast-paced banjo to slow chords being played on the same instrument gives every single chord played when slow so much emotion. Once again showing Joff's musical mastery to draw the emotions from the audience, especially during this next part. Finally giving up, Granddad decides to rest at the docks as Chili finds them, gaining a bright smile on her face. As the two finally share a moment together, we get to see the valuable life lesson of taking care of your body being identified by Bluey.
Mum, look, I'm eating my pumpkin seeds. Hooray!
And as the music continues to swell, we see the embodiment of their father and daughter relationship through the use of the most beautiful transition technique, as well as one of the best dialogue exchanges in the series.
I remember when you used to take me swimming here.
Yeah, me too.
That was a long time ago.
No, it was yesterday.
As we move on to the episode onesies, we also explore another extremely sensitive topic, and even in the very beginning scene, we can see Brandy's internal struggle by stopping before the door, sighing and giving herself prep talk.
It's all good, Brandy.
Just there alone, the episode sets us up for what we can expect from Brandy. As a nice contrast, we move on to Chili teaching her kids a dance the two sisters created for their mom, showing us that the two have a very close bond, despite what we learn later on with Brandy's absence. Once the door swings open and Brandy meets the girls, we can suddenly see the slight discomfort the girls feel. And as the episode tells us later, it's because Brandy hasn't visited in 4 years. So it's almost as if Bluey and Bingo are meeting a complete stranger, thus their body language. With this 4-year absence, the sisters embrace for the first time in a very long time, and their voices being slightly lowered as they talk to each other, signifying their feelings subtly.
Hi, Chili. It's good to see you. Yeah, you too.
As Brandy sees Bingo for the first time, we can notice that she is stunned, and we get an equally stunning line.
You look just like you.
This one line honestly kills me whenever I hear it, due to the episode exploring the topic of infertility and the intense melancholy feel that we get from having Brandy see so much resemblance in her from Bingo. We can only imagine what is going through Brandy's mind as she experiences a looking glass into what her own child could have looked like. We move on to the fun part of the episode, where Brandy is bringing gifts to the healer's household. Unfortunately, the gifts she brought doesn't quite fit each of the girls, and Chili says,
Sorry, Bluey. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
Aw, but I really want the cheetah.
It's not meant to be, kid.
foreshadowing later events and the lesson in this episode, which is beautiful. We can see Brandy wants to say something emotional to Chili at the beginning, and the episode continues to bring it up, but every single time, something interrupts her. As Bingo chases everyone away with her new persona manifested from the onesie. As they run behind the shed, Brandy is reminded that she hasn't seen the kids in 4 years,
4 years ago.
which gets her so emotional and guilt-ridden that she attempts to find an escape by literally trying to leave the house, despite only being there for a few moments. Brandy expresses how hard it is seeing the healer's complete family.
I'm sorry it's been so long.
Oh.
It's just hard seeing you all, you know?
Since it's something Brandy believes she can never have due to her alluded infertility issues. It clearly breaks her heart seeing Chili have what she wants more than the whole world, especially with how closely Bingo resembles Brandy. Just look at the fur pattern and even identical slanted snouts. Since it's mentioned that it's been 4 years since Brandy has visited, we can connect the dots from the ages of the kids that Brandy has been disconnected from Chili's family close to around the time Bingo was born.
She's 5.
Since it's clear that Brandy has infertility issues, seeing Chili not have just 1 kid, but 2, probably broke Brandy's heart in connection to Chili because she no longer felt that she had that support in the world, knowing she had someone else just like her, considering Chili's own alluded infertility issues before Bluey was born due to the miscarriage Chili has had. Bluey being Chili's rainbow baby didn't bother Brandy, since it probably gave Brandy her own hope to continue trying for a baby. But after Chili had her second child, Bingo, that hope and connection that Brandy felt was likely severed, causing her to isolate herself away from the Healer family. This being a key reason why Brandy wants to escape so hard from it all during the entire episode. As they continue to play, eventually leading to Brandy being attacked by Bingo, we see an extremely touching moment.
Why can't she just have the things she wants?
Because it's not meant to be.
The reuse of the phrase, "it wasn't
meant
meant
to
to
be,
be,"
kid.
is an amazing way to touch the beginning scene together, and Chili eventually joins Brandy in the grass, looking up into the cloud, holding each other's hands, and slightly smiling, showing how bittersweet everything is. And being the good sister Chili is, you can even see herself feeling bittersweet and showing genuine compassion for Brandy's feelings, as well as Brandy's well-being, since Chili understands firsthand, to an extent, what Brandy is going through. And as they reconnect with each other, Brandy mentions,
I tell you what, next time I come over, I'm not bringing any onesies.
in which you can see Chili smile even harder, because Brandy just confirmed that she'll be visiting the sister she misses so much more often. If it wasn't enough, the show also shows the two reconnecting with each other on a more deeper level by reenacting the dance they worked so hard creating for their own mother, showing the two's efforts to rekindle their sister and sister-childhood relationship, and the episode with an extremely lighthearted note in such a perfect way. Now, I've seen it's pretty traditional to kind of want to do honorable mentions at this particular moment. I will give the most honorable mention to the episode Baby Race. I honestly feel like if I were to rewrite this and re-record it, I probably would have placed Baby Race on the list. If this was like a top 11, Baby Race would probably be right in the middle of Army and Granddad for me. So I'm sorry that I included in the list, but Baby Race is such an incredible episode, especially for those of you who are parents.
Why did I decide to walk in the kitchen? Maybe you just saw something you wanted.
But let's actually go into the regular honorable mentions, and I don't want to get into a big explanation of why I'm putting each one of these here, so I'm just going to literally just list the episode's names without much explanation, because then this video would probably be like an hour long. Okay, so hang on to your seats because this is going to be pretty fast. There is a lot of honorable mentions, so I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible. We have Daddy Robot, The Weeknd, Barbecue, Hotel, Bike, Bob Bilby, Butterflies,
Jing, jing.
Yoga Ball, Calypso, The Creek, Fairies, The Dump, Work, Bumpy and the Wise Old Wolfhound, Copycat, Mount Mom and Dad, Veranda Sanda, Daddy Putdown, Hammer Barn, Squash, Charades, Bingo, Hairdressers, Sticky Gecko, Fancy Restaurant, Escape, Queens, Mom School, Cafe, Barky Boats, Duck Cake, Handstand, Octopus, Easter, Dad Baby, Promises, Omelette, Mini Bluey, Curry Quest, Perfect, Chest, Whale Watching, Fairy Tale, and finally, Turtle Boy. That is a ton of honorable mentions. I almost basically listed every single episode in this series. But let's finally move on to the best of the best for emotional scenes of Bluey. At the very beginning of this journey, I mentioned that this list could fluctuate almost every single day. And despite all of that, I still feel with 100% confidence that the episode Sleepy Time would be placed as number 1 every single time, due to the multitude of feelings and deeper meanings this episode holds and demonstrates in just a short 7 minutes that we get. Just like the episode Rain, this episode has the characters talk very little and instead leans into the strengths of the musical composer Joff, allowing him to push the music and sounds to the forefront of the episode to convey the majority of the emotions in a phenomenal way. This episode starts at nighttime as the parents are getting everyone to bed, and Chili is reading a bedtime story to Bingo. After she is done reading, Chili is about to leave the room, and they have this sweet exchange.
Mom, I want to do a big girl sleep tonight and wake up in my own bed.
You do your best, honey. But remember, I'm always here if you need me.
As Bingo drifts to sleep, the majority of the remainder of the episode is seen from the point of view of a dream sequence, as all the actions shown in her dream are reflected in real life and vice versa. This dream reflects the storybook that Chili was just reading to Bingo, and every single planet seen is represented by certain members of the Healer family, as well as many things in the house. It starts by Bingo hatching from Earth, signifying her as the second born of Chili, and Bingo's favorite stuffed animal, Floppy, hatching directly next to her from the moon, symbolizing their close connection. Bluey being represented as Venus, already hatched, signifying her as the first child, and if you subscribe to this theory, Mercury, the first planet in our solar system, remains unhatched, possibly representing Chili's first child that was never born due to the miscarriage reference in the show. We also see the parents represented as Bandit being Jupiter, and Chili being the center of it all, representing the sun. A very nice but possibly unintentional touch is that the song name for Jupiter is the Bringer of Joy, which represents Bandit very well. The two parents being symbolized as the two largest celestial bodies in our solar system shows the audience how important Bingo's parents are to her. Throughout the episode, we can see Bingo exploring space as she sleepwalks in real life, leading her to all the planets in the solar system, until she eventually gets to Pluto. Shivering and cold, Bingo's center of attention becomes the radiating warmth and light of the sun, and Bingo begins her journey to go all the way back and further to reach her son. Along the way, Bingo is forced to say goodbye to Floppy, so Floppy can be with her own kind, as Bingo begins to cry, alerting her mother in real life. Just as this happens, a comet picks up Bingo, sending her directly towards Mercury, the closest planet to the sun, where we get to see one of the best scenes and impactful musical swells in the series. As a callback to the beginning of the episode, Chili says the last thing she said to her child.
Remember, I'll always be here for you, even if you can't see me, because I love you.
And Bingo replies with the last thing she said to her mother that night.
I have to go. I'm a big girl now.
With Bingo wanting to be a big girl, she heads back to Earth, where Floppy and all of their new friends help piece Earth back together for Bingo as the music crescendos, showcasing the rest of the Healer family. And if it wasn't enough, the sun begins to rise in the horizon, giving a perfect end to a perfect episode. Once again, I do want to say that the emotional impact that these episodes have cannot be fully expressed by clips and explanations alone. However, learning about them can make the impact hit harder next time you watch.
Ah! My stomach!
If you wish to fully experience them, you're going to have to watch the episodes yourself. And I do hope the next time you watch these episodes, as well as every episode, you look at them in a different light, because so many of them have deeper meanings tied to them. I'm curious to hear your opinions on what should have been on the list, as well as if you would have placed any of these differently. I always love hearing different perspective on things, so feel free to share. Make sure to hit subscribe so you can join me next time we revisit a certain episode on this list to go more in depth on its deeper meanings, as well as any future video I make. All of this and so much more wouldn't be possible without the support you guys give me on a daily to continue making videos, especially the members, Rick Iglesias, Clairvoyance, and Cameron. These are the people who support me as little as $5 bucks, and you can also support me by clicking the link on the top right or the comments description. The more support I get, the closer I get to becoming full-time. But as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him up with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. More in a cave with a torch on the wall than a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.